We are now less than 24 hours away from the opening of Alton Towers and therefore Nemesis Reborn. Today, I'm going to give you some of the best advice for visiting tomorrow or over the next few weeks and months so you can beat the queues. And I know you've seen this video many times before, however, none of them include the opening of Nemesis Reborn and how busy the park will get, especially over the next few weeks and definitely tomorrow. My first piece of advice is to get there early, and not just early in terms of 9 o'clock. You want to be getting there for about 8 or maybe even half 8 at the latest. From parking your car up to the park entrance, you've got about a 10-minute walk, 15 minutes if you want to walk a little bit slow. And then obviously when you get there, you've got bag checks, you've got the queues to get in the park. And obviously the park opens from 9 o'clock with rides starting at 10. You've also apparently got some people setting up tents just outside the entrance. Whether they actually follow through with that, I don't know. But you want to keep that in mind for how busy the queue is going to be to get into the park. Also, when the gates finally do open at 9 o'clock, you want to be one of the first people in the park.
Yeah, boy.
So then you can walk down to Nemesis, where you're probably going to be, and then you can be one of the first people in the area. Obviously, there's likely going to be some kind of opening show or something going on. So therefore, the queue's probably not going to be open until that show's done. But you want to be near the front or in a good position to watch the show. So then obviously you can get straight on the ride if you're wanting to make this your first coast of the year. My second piece of advice would be to bring a packed lunch and eat in the queue lines tomorrow. I would also apply this for every Saturday during Alton After Dark as well. This honestly saves so much time because of how busy the queues are going to be. If you're just eating in the queue, you're obviously not be walking loads, and then you can just relax and eat whilst you wait to get on the coaster. If you don't really want to bring a packed lunch, then I would recommend doing the usual, either eat around 11, so just before the midday mark, or eat around 2 p.m. I'd say. A lot of people say eat at 1 because it's just after 12, but I feel between 12 and 1 and definitely half 1, you start seeing people eat. So I'd probably say 2 p.m. So if you want to go after dinner, or 11 a.m. if you would like to eat before. My personal advice when to do this would be in the Nemesis queue line. The reason I say that is because that is obviously going to be probably one of the longest queues, definitely tomorrow. Therefore, you're going to have enough time to eat your food, let it go down as well if that's a worry of yours. And, you know, you should be able to enjoy the queue line whilst you're doing so. Now, if you're not bothered about riding Nemesis early in the day and you're only bothered about seeing the show, or maybe you're not even bothered about seeing the show, then I would recommend avoiding these rides, especially if you are going to see the show. Galactica, Nemesis Subterra, Curse of Alton Manor, Conga River Rapids, and the Runaway Mine Train. It goes without saying these rides are the closest to Nemesis, and therefore for people especially going to watch the show or just coming off Nemesis, they're going to go straight to these rides instead of walking across the other side of the park, which you can do to get the most amount of rides in during the day. I'd recommend going to the Dark Forest for 13 or Rita, or X Sector for Smiler or Oblivion. I would still avoid Wickerman because people will still go to Wickerman because it's the front of the park, especially late arrivals. They may not feel it's worth going to Nemesis, so they'll duck into Wickerman. Therefore, X Sector and Dark Forest are your two areas you want to go and visit first. I'd also use this advice if you are one of the first on Nemesis, unless you really want to re-ride straight after, which I think is a bad idea. So if you want to get the most rides in during the day, I would head straight over to X Sector or Dark Forest after you've done. Another piece of advice for tomorrow is to bring an umbrella or a hood item so that you don't get wet, especially during the afternoon and when you're going to be getting them night rides, because it is forecast to rain tomorrow at Alton. So therefore, you don't want to be waiting in an hour, 2-hour queue or whatever it might be for Nemesis and then just getting drenched. All the other queues are going to be busy as well, just to be clear, because it is a sold out day and there's forecast to be over 30,000 people there.
Oh my God! Wow!
Tomorrow, so therefore all the queues are going to have a good amount of people in, and you do not want to be just standing there in the rain, especially at night. Now, this is circumstantial, but if you are interested in seeing some of the new Nemesis merch and the merch throughout 2024, I would recommend doing this around midday. The reason I say is because at the start of the day, people are going to duck straight in there on Tower Street, and also at Nemesis, where their new merch shop is going to be. People are going to be there throughout the entire day, to be honest. However, midday is when most people are going to be at either the food stalls or eating or just not at the shops. Therefore, the merchandise shops are probably going to be at the quietest. They're still going to be a bit busy, but they will be at the quietest around midday is what I would expect. So therefore, if you are interested or you just want to be nosy, then I would recommend visiting any kind of merch around the park around midday. I'd also say evening would be a good time period when it's just sunsetting, because most people will be rushing to the rides to get straight on the night rides. So if you want to sacrifice a little bit of evening sunset time, which is probably rain anyway, you're not going to see any sunsets, then I'd recommend ducking into any kind of the shops there. If you'd like to know the order of what I would do the rides in tomorrow, then I'm going to list it here. Personally, I would go straight over to Nemesis, watch the show. I would then go walk all the way to X Sector and go straight on the Smiler and then Oblivion. I would then quickly head to the Dark Forest and do 13 and Rita. I would then go to Wickerman. And then I would slowly work my way back to Nemesis for some re-rides. So going on the likes of Curse of Autumn Manor again, Congo River Rapids if you really want to, Runaway Mine Train, and obviously Subterra again if you really want to. Personally, I would do Galactic after your Nemesis re-ride, unless you really like Galactica. However, I think a Nemesis re-ride over Galactica is probably worth it. If you want my advice, obviously Hex isn't open from the start of the season tomorrow, so you don't need to worry about going on that at all. If this is in a few weeks, then I would probably suggest adding Hex just before you go into the Dark Forest, so after X Sector. My last piece of advice would be to bring some appropriate footwear if you are planning to run to Nemesis. Do not bring something that's going to be a nightmare to run in, because you are, if you are planning to run, then have some trainers on, you know, be a bit safe. You don't want to be falling over. If you're not planning to run, I would recommend either going on the sides of the path when walking, so you're not in the center, so people can't push by you or whatever. Because, yeah, the opening of the park is probably going to be a little bit of chaos. I'd also like to mention, for those that are running down to Nemesis, don't go and be crazy, because at the end of the day, the hotel guests are going to be there before you. It would be near on impossible for you to beat them. So therefore, if you are planning to try it, it's just not going to work. The hotel, booking a hotel would be the best way and most efficient way to get on Nemesis first, because then as soon as park opens, you could dip into the queue, especially in a few weeks when the opening show isn't being done. But yeah, just there's no point being crazy. At the end of the day, just enjoy the experience, enjoy the coaster. It's great to have it open again. It looks insane, especially with the new advert we've received today. So yeah, just enjoy the day, really. But yeah, that is the final bit from me today. I hope this advice helped. Obviously, any of advice I might have missed, please leave in the comments for people to read. I'm sure those people are going to be wanting that, especially over the next few weeks as well. As I said, enjoy the day if you are going tomorrow, and enjoy it over the next few weeks. Don't worry or don't stress about getting first on or be one of the first riding. It doesn't have to have any advantages. To be honest, the coaster will run a lot better later in the day anyway. Thank you all for watching. If you would like to see one of my Alton Towers vlogs, you can see one here as well. I'm going to be at the park next week, as long as many other Merlin parks throughout the UK, and even some great Yarmouth stuff as well. There's a lot planned for the end of March, so make sure you subscribe and turn that noty bell so you don't miss any future videos, and like if this did help you as well. Goodbye, cheerio.